Hi everyone, I just wanted to get on since I've had my freeze dryer for about 2 weeks now and kind of explain how it's going for me, how I like it, things that I've freeze dried, and just kind of explain all about it. Now that I have it, I've used it, and I'm a lot more comfortable with it than I was when I first got it. So one of my first pieces of advice is that if you order one, make sure it's on sale. And number two, don't get on any of the online, Facebook groups or anything until you actually get your machine and you've used it. I got onto the groups after or before I bought my machine, and I had to wait a good 2 or 3 weeks for my machine to come. And I was filled with so much information that I felt a little bit overwhelmed. And when people get on groups like that, they tend to more complain than tell you the good things. I did see some really cool things that people would put in their freeze dryer and make, but I was also filled with a lot of the this is my problem, I'm having this problem, I'm having that problem. So right after I pushed the button to purchase our freeze dryer, which is a very big purchase, I kind of instantly had buyer's remorse, because I was like, what did I just get myself into? Am I really going to like this? Am I going to have these problems that everybody else had? So I got really nervous. The machine came. I have smooth delivery. A great delivery guy brought it. He got our address wrong and was like 45 minutes away, and he thought he was at our house. But it came. He actually brought it in the house and helped me open the box and make sure everything was good, and it was, and we set it up, and I did the bread run, which basically you put bread in the machine, you kind of it helps get the chemicals and the new car smell out of it, and after you do that bread run, you're good to go to freeze dry anything you want after that. Well, I told you guys that we would not be freeze drying a lot of candy, but we have done 2 runs of freeze dried candy. But before I get into what we have freeze dried, I kind of want to explain the process. I still don't really fully understand it myself a lot, because, and a lot of people are like, well, just get a dehydrator, but they're very different. Dehydrated food and freeze dried foods are 2 different things. So I looked it up. I have it in front of me. So basically, all of the materials are carefully frozen to control the size and shape of ice crystals. And then the pressure is decreased, the temperature is increased to sublime ice into vapor. And then the temperature increases to break the ionic bonds and release the last water molecule. So it's a whole scientific process, but basically you go from having something fresh to something freeze-dried that's shelf-stable for up to 25 years if it's stored properly. So it's a really cool process, a really good way to not have to take up, I say canning jars, which I've put a lot of my stuff in canning jars, because I don't want to put them in the Mylar bags if it's something we're going to open a lot and use a lot. So I am using glass jars for my things, but you don't have to take up freezer space, refrigerator space. You just need to have some pantry shelf space if you're going to have a freeze dryer. So one of the coolest things that I have put in the freeze dryer, aside from the candy, I'll get into the candy in a minute, is eggs. So I do have chickens, and in the winter time, chickens naturally slow down their laying, and that actually happened to me this winter, because I don't have any new chickens. When you get a new batch of chickens in the spring, they lay really good through the winter, but I have older hens. All of mine are 2 to 5 years old. So this winter was my first winter that I really felt that strain on not having eggs. And there were a couple of times that I had to go to the grocery store and actually buy eggs. So before my freeze dryer came, I put all my eggs in a silicone mold, and I did not bring that in here, but y'all know what silicone molds look like. That's hard to say. And I froze my eggs in the freezer in these molds. And the reason why I did it this way is because I didn't want to pour the eggs into the tray and have a mess. Trying to think about either pouring them into the tray while it's in the machine or trying to carry it to the machine and make a mess. I didn't want to do that. So I froze them, and I was actually able to fill it like a tray and a 2/3 of a tray with I didn't even count the eggs, but it is several dozen eggs that I was able to freeze dry. So this you would reconstitute with double the water. So if you did, 2 tablespoons of eggs, you put in 2 tablespoons of water to reconstitute, and that will give you about the equivalent of 1 egg. So, and I have reconstituted these eggs that I put in the freeze dryer and eaten them, and they taste just like regular eggs. It's really cool. Very different than dehydrated eggs. So my chicken started laying again, and so I took the opportunity to quickly freeze dry a bunch. And this is one of the things that I'm really excited to have on hand, especially in the winter. This summer, when my chickens are laying a lot of eggs and I have way too many, I'm going to be taking them and freezing them and freeze drying them. So I do like to put things in my freeze dryer frozen first, so you need to have that in mind. I should have brought a tray in here too, but they're all in my freeze dryer right now. But the trays, they're good size, so you need to have freezer space if you're wanting to freeze something in there, or you could freeze something in a Ziploc bag that then you can place on the tray as long as it'll fit on there, or in molds like I did. So the candy has been, aside from eggs, I have freeze dried fruit. I have done apples. They are all gone. I have done bananas. They are all gone. They are fabulous. They're so good. The apples are probably my favorite treat. I have done blueberries. I do the little tiny wild blueberries, and I've done like a berry medley mix that you could buy in the freezer section. I do prefer the little small wild berries over the blueberries over the bigger blueberries, and I think that they freeze dry easier. I'm excited this spring and summer to do some strawberries. I don't want to buy any now from the store. I don't feel like they would be very fresh. I could probably buy some frozen ones, and I might soon and try those, but I've heard they don't taste as good as the fresh ones. So here's some of the berries that I've done. They're just really, they're really small. So they're good. They're crunchy. The flavor's almost concentrated, and I use this in my cottage cheese or yogurt when I eat breakfast, or I put it in oatmeal. It's very good and things like that. I actually gave some to my mom, and she's supposed to be putting some in her sourdough bread. There's a whole process she knows about that you could use this in your bread so it doesn't stain your bread blue, I guess, with the blueberries. So she took some of those. I haven't gotten a report back how those did for her, but I'm sure she'll tell me soon, or she can pop it in the comments. So the candy has been some of the coolest thing. It's a learning curve to do candy. I said I'd never do candy, but we've done 2 batches of candy, and my favorite candy probably are these things. They're the Bit-O-Honey, and I had never had these, but I had heard that a lot of people would freeze dry them, and they're like these little chewy squares, and they blow up like this, and it's almost like malt, like a malted milk ball or whatever. If you have had those, I don't really like those, but I like these, and these things are addictive. They're so good. I have to hide them from myself. We've done those. These right here, I don't know if you can see them really good. These are Milk Duds, and they're like little clouds of like it. When I eat these, it makes me want a cup of coffee. They taste so good. Love those Milk Duds. And then, of course, the biggest thing that kids love are the Skittles. So we've done Skittles, and they turn out perfect every time. We've done gummy candy. You have to make sure you get the heat right for those, or they don't work out. And these big things right here, these are Jolly Ranchers. So it's very interesting. Like, it's a big, it's like an airy ball of Jolly Rancher. So when you bite into it, it's real crunchy and airy, but then it like reconstitute in your mouth and it sticks to your teeth. The kids love these things. I don't like these as much as I do the Milk Duds and the Bit-O-Honeys. Those are good. Those are the only things that I have done in my freeze dryer in the last 2 weeks. It's been running a lot. A question I've had, is it loud? It's not quiet. I would say it would be like the equivalent of running shower water and you were standing in the bathroom while the shower was running. It just is like a constant fan blowing noise. It's not terribly loud, but I do have mine in a room that I can close the door. So I wouldn't want it in the main part of my house. I think it would drive me nuts. I did not realize, I knew that it made a noise, but it is a little bit louder than I thought it would be. So if you're ever interested in getting one, take that into consideration. So let's see, what else was I going to tell you about it? There was so many things. It's very overwhelming to get one. I am not affiliated with Harvest Right, which that's the brand of freeze dryer I have, is the Harvest Right brand, and they do not know who I am, but they are running a Valentine's Day sale right now. So if this is something you're interested in, I chose the medium 5 drawer, it's not called drawer, the 5 tray freeze dryer, and that I felt like that was the best fit for our family. If you go up a size to a large or an extra large, you're going to need your own amp, your own plug for it, like a 220, and I didn't want to have to fool with that. So we just got the medium, so it's plugged in its own little 110, and I haven't had any problems. It hasn't tripped any breakers or anything. So that is something to consider on size. But right now, Harvest Right is running a deal where they are $500 off. When I bought mine, it was $300 off. So now they're $500 off. So it's a really good deal. And I haven't seen them. The only other time I've seen them $500 off was at Mother's Day last year. So it's been really fun. I'm excited to do more leftover type foods. I will share after this talk me actually using, like turning on, loading, and using the freeze dryer, and I'll kind of show you the process of how it works. It's not as overwhelming as what I thought it would be. It's very simple. The little screen on there tells you exactly what to do, so you can't mess anything up. Now, I do know that there's people who have freeze-dried things and they like exploded in there. So one of the good things about being on some of those pages is you can kind of live and learn through other people and their, you know, experiences of what they've done and issues that they've had. So I'm really excited that we have it, and I believe it'll pay for itself over time. I do need to look into figuring out where I can buy more Mylar bags so I can start using those, because when I do leftovers, I do want to put them in the Mylar bags with an oxygen absorber and, you know, write on the bag what's in them so that we always have, you know, a tote or something that you can go through and be like, oh, I want spaghetti tonight, and just grab it out, put hot water in it, and you have spaghetti. It's just really cool. So I think over time, I'm really excited about my garden produce, putting that in there, so that I could preserve some of these things. I know I have some things in my freezer now and I don't use them, and I think I'm going to take them out of my freezer, put them in the freeze dryer, and turn them into powder. Like all that zucchini that I got last year, I'm going to put it in my freeze dryer and make zucchini powder out of it, and you can use it to thicken stews and soups and put it in things, and then the flavor's not there, so nobody's going to know it's in there. It'll just kind of be a healthy thickener. So I believe that's everything. I have not had any negative experiences yet. I'm sure down the road, eventually, I'll probably put something in there that might explode. I have seen some people put milk in there and it like foamed up and exploded out, and then they had to clean it. But I haven't tried milk yet, but I'm planning on freezing my milk before I put it in there. So hopefully that would help that not to happen. I do follow some YouTube videos. If you want to know something about the freeze dryer, I believe YouTube videos are the best way, just to kind of look up what exactly you're looking for, and a YouTube video will come up, and they're very helpful, very informative, and I've learned a lot through the YouTube videos also. So I'm going to show you a video. Oh, one more thing I wanted to tell you, things you can't freeze dry. So you cannot freeze dry oily things that have oil, or like chocolate, things like that will not freeze dry. So if it will not freeze in the freezer, it will not freeze dry in your freeze dryer. So that's a really good thing to note. So I know that the Milk Duds have a chocolate outer layer, and I've also freeze dried Junior Mints, and the chocolate on the outside layer does not freeze dry, but the inside of the Junior Mint does. So there are some things that you can get away with, but like if you're thinking of certain oily foods or things, they don't do really well. So I'm going to show you now a video of me using, loading, and running the food dryer and the process of it, and then I will show you at the end what the food looks like. So thanks for watching, and I hope that you have a great day. So with your freeze dryer, you're going to want to go in and push the start button and turn it on so that it can start to cool the vacuum chamber, and that will take about 15 minutes, and it'll alert you when the 15 minutes is up so you can load your trays. So here I am bringing in all the food that I want to put in the freeze dryer. This is some frozen vegetables, some wild blueberries, and like a berry mix. So I lay all 5 of my trays out, which I did buy some silicone mats for my trays. Totally unnecessary, but for me it does help clean up. Some people don't even fool with them, but I really like them, and people say to only use them if you're doing something like bananas or something that's sticky, but I just use them all the time. Makes cleanup easier. So I'm just gonna put some berries on this tray, and I end up putting berries on another tray, and I just make sure that they're all in an even layer. You don't want them to be all stacked on top of each other, and just put them on there evenly on all the trays. It is really good in your freeze drying room if you can have a work surface like I do in here. I have a little coffee table by my freeze dryer. My freeze dryer is just in this frame over on the left hand side, and that helps me to be able to have a place right here by my freeze dryer so I can just get everything ready, and that way when the 15 minutes is up for me to put the trays in, it's all right here, and I'm not trying to carry 5 trays from my kitchen all the way in here to where the freeze dryer is. So when the chamber is ready, you have a notification on there that tells you to come in and load the trays in, and then here you will see me take all 5 trays and just slide them in from my coffee table or straight into the machine. They slide right on in. When you watch me put in the last tray that has the vegetables in it, and this is my first time freeze drying frozen vegetables. It's just like an Asian medley of vegetables. Some of them are too big, so I have to rearrange them just a little bit so that I could slide my tray in better, but it all works out in the end. So when you get all the trays in, you just close the door, and it'll tell you to close the valve, which I'm doing over here on the left hand side of the machine, and then you just push start, and that's all you do. Now, one thing I did fail to mention is how long it takes to freeze dry things. So the candy, depending on what kind of candy, most candy for me only takes about 2 hours to freeze dry the candy to have it done, but the food, the vegetables, the fruits and things like that can take 24 hours all the way up to 48 hours, just depending on what it is, what kind it is. Your machine will do that for you. The machine is very smart, and it goes into a drying cycle, and it dries the food until it somehow knows how long the food needs to be dried. So I can go in there with the food and check on it and see, I can add more drying time if I pull the trays out and feel like something is still needs some more drying time. Sometimes the fruits with the seeds, they say like the berries and the strawberries and things like that have seeds in it, you need to do like extra 10 hours of drying time. So when you're freeze drying foods, it takes a day to 2 days to fully freeze dry something. So you've got to take that into consideration, that your freeze dryer is going to be running for a good day or two, and that does go it does run your electricity. So some people say they have like a dollar or two a day every day that they run their machine on their bill. So just wanted to put that out there too. I forgot to mention those things, that it does take a while for the food to freeze dry. If you guys have any questions, or you want to know more, or if there's something that I didn't cover that you want to know about, please put it down in the comments. I would love to answer your questions about the freeze dryer. Really excited about my machine and the possibilities. And again, like I said before, I'm so glad that you tuned in and you watched, and I hope that you have a great day.